world where the number of movies available is great, but many are so bad, you'll learn a new definition of hate. One man sifts and reviews through the movie sludge. One man will be the movie cop, jury, and judge. He goes by many names, but you know him by Movies Merica.
Hey, all you beautiful movie-loving people out there, live from a red carpet somewhere, surrounded by celebrities. This is the Movies Merica podcast with Van Ebert, where movie reviews meet cold brews. Van will review your favorite and maybe not so favorite movies while enjoying some ice-cold beers and saying cheers. Now let's head into the theater and join our illustrious movie reviewer du jour, who's no doubt got the beer ready to pour, Van Ebert. Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome to the Movies Merica podcast. As always, I humbly thank you and am full of delicious gratitude that you have decided to join me, yours truly, for this latest Movies Merica podcast. And so, for today's review, all I have to say is, are you ready for some football? Oh yeah, because today we will be reviewing American Underdog.
Football. Tell me about that.
As long as I have a ball in my hand, I feel alive. Kind of like how I feel right now.
I'm staying here. I got work to do.
Work? The NFL's not going to draft some dude from the 1AA school in Iowa.
There were other offers. Can't you just...
I called every team in the NFL. No one's interested. Can I get one of your applications?
I promised that I would take care of you and the kids. So that is exactly what I'm going to do.
If this is your dream, don't give up on it.
Football.
Yeah, they didn't pick me.
I pick you.
I'll pick you too.
Kurt Warner. You got the whole package, kid. The world just needs more time to see it.
He came up with this whole arena concept.
Arena football.
It's like a circus.
People love the circus.
I like the circus.
Yeah, that is a heartwarming trailer right there. You know, it's one of those trailers that gets you enticed to see the movie, you know? So, but that's what they're supposed to do. But, yeah, well, before, I get a little, beyond myself here and get into the actual review, let me let you know that this podcast is, of course, on the platform you're listening to it on now, but it's also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many, many, many other platforms out there. So all over the podcast atmosphere, you know. So, and I know at least an Apple Podcast, you can give it a rating. So if you would, if you're feeling, very generous, feeling very cool, feeling fancy, lighthearted and fancy-free, and you're like, man, I'm in a friendly mood, feel free to give me a 5-star rating there, and, hey, drop a review on Apple Podcasts there. It's at the very bottom. You got to scroll to the very bottom, and you can be a little review. I mean, it could be very short, like, hey, great job, or, hey, that was terrible. That podcast was pure hot garbage. And then download the episodes there as well. I definitely would appreciate that. You can't see it, but I have one lowly tear coming down my cheek, just thinking about how much gratitude I'd have, or I would have, if I knew that you were downloading those episodes and giving it a rating and reviewing and all that good stuff. Also, the podcast is available on moviesmerica.com. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram under Movies Merica. And if you want to share anything with me, you can DM me on those, and give me the 411, give me your opinions, all that. I love to, hear from you guys on there. I like, when people reach out to me and just give me that personalized response, good or bad. I mean, I'm not too proud to beg. No, that's TLC. Never mind. I ain't too proud to get a negative feedback. Constructive negative feedback. That's cool. I always appreciate that. And of course, I'm human, right? I love effusive praise too. If you want to really just blow up my ego, that's cool. All right. And so yeah, just let you know. I mean, on this podcast, I review new movies and old movies. And today is going to be reviewing a new movie. But in addition to liking reviewing new and old movies, I also love mixing things that I love, and I love movies and beer. So, guess what? I'll be combining movies and beer on this review, and if you've listened to any episodes of this before, you know that. And I enjoy a different beer brew every episode while reviewing a movie, and this episode is just like that. It's just the same, all right? So today's Lucky Brew will be Pantera Golden Ale from Texas Ale Project. Yeah, named after the Texas band from Arlington, Texas, Pantera, Cowboys from Hell, Far Beyond Driven, like one of the leading heavy metal acts of the 90s, rest in peace Dimebag Darrell, and Vinnie Paul. They're gone too soon. But, yeah, Pantera, so I will be downing that there, and luckily for me, it doesn't taste like heavy metal. I mean, metallic beer, that would taste terrible. But yeah, it's it rocks with some flavor, as corny as that sounds. But, hey, just let me take a little tug off this right here. I'm gonna get a little riff off this Pantera beer right now. Outstanding. Got to keep those vocal cords, liquefied, right? Just like Dimebag Darrell and Phil Anselmo and Vinnie Paul, the Pantera members from back in the day would tell you. And so, all right, well, with all that there, let's get into the feature presentation of this review. Okay, so today's lucky movie will be, like I said, American Underdog. All right, so this is a true life story, as most of you will know, unless you were born under a rock. This is Kurt Warner. This is his biopic movie, and I'm surprised it took this long to actually come out with a movie about Kurt Warner. I mean, it's just the ultimate underdog, fish out of water story. And I feel like I have a little bit more of a connection to the story than most others. I grew up in Iowa, specifically. The college that I went to is UNI, University of Northern Iowa, and it's in Cedar Falls, Iowa. And I grew up in the next town over. Basically, Cedar Falls is connected to Waterloo, Iowa, and I grew up in Waterloo, Iowa. I have a mom and siblings that went to UNI there. Kurt Warner grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I lived in Cedar Rapids, Iowa for a long, long time. Now I live in the Lone Star State, and then also, the part of the legend is that we had the stock shelves at Hy Vee, and so I remember shopping at Hy Vee all the time, and I shopped at the specific Cedar Falls Hy Vee that he worked at and stock shelves at. So that was pretty kind of a cool connection. For myself, I might be the only one that thinks it's cool, but I think it's cool. So and it just kind of gives a little bit more of a feeling of involvement with this movie for me. So now, if you're from Walla Walla, Washington, and you don't know Kurt Warner, from Warner Brothers, then probably not going to feel that way. But yeah, this movie, it just does have that. I can relate to this movie here just from just living in that state, and it's a great movie. It's Kurt Warner. I mean, he was this kid who grew up in Cedar Rapids. He went to Cedar Rapids Regis for his high school, and then he went to University of Northern Iowa, played 1AA football there, And he just, he had a dream. He wanted to play in the NFL, and not just play in the NFL, because the average NFL, career is what, 3 years? No, he wanted to, he wanted more than that. He wanted to excel, in the NFL. He wanted to win Super Bowls. He wanted MVPs, and all the chips were against him. He had all the roadblocks ahead of him, because he went to a 1AA school in Cedar Falls, Iowa. It's like, unless you're from there, who's ever heard of UNI? University of Northern Iowa. I mean, and so, he had to work hard there. He had his difficulties there. This movie portrays that. And then, he would get calls. I think he got a call. We got a call from the Packers, and then eventually the Rams. And he, he basically he wasn't some 5-star recruit. I mean, he was not this, heralded name. I mean, when he wasn't like Reggie Bush, or some other 5-star, like Desmond Howard or one of these recruits that everybody knows. Every coach is drooling over them. Just, oh man, we can't wait. He's not going to get drafted in the first round. I mean, and he's not going to get drafted at all. And back then, I mean, he could have gotten drafted. There were 7 rounds in the draft, but he didn't get drafted in that. But this movie covers all that. But of course, as most of you know what Kurt Warner ended up doing with his NFL career, and now we see him on NFL Network doing his thing, lending his football expertise on there, and so it's so cool. I mean, because I really, I mean, I'm like anybody. I mean, you don't have to be from Iowa to root for an underdog like Kurt Warner, but being from there, it's extra cool to see him on NFL Network and talking NFL football on there. I mean, I was thinking, once his NFL career was over, that Kurt Warner would go away and I wouldn't be able to enjoy his perspective on the game, and he wouldn't be, in the zeitgeist of America, in the NFL. And then, he became a personality on NFL Network. It's like, great, awesome. Like now, we can see him, and hear his thoughts and be reminded of the great story of Kurt Warner, because we see him right there on our TV screen. It's just fantastic that's the situation. He may leave NFL Network. He may leave broadcasting altogether. Who knows? But for right now, we got him, and we've got this American Underdog movie as well now. I mean, it's just fantastic. So the movie is, I dug it. I thought it was funny that, a lot of it takes place in Iowa, and I just thought it was funny when they're driving around. Me being from there, I know this, but it's like the movie portrays like every road in Iowa is like a 2-lane farm road. They're driving around. It's like it's a 2-lane paved road or 2-lane gravel road. It's like they portray like, Iowa doesn't have any interstates, major highways, doesn't have any major cities or anything like that. I mean, matter of fact, where he meets his future wife Brenda Warner, he meets her at a honky tonk, meets her at a country bar called, I always just called it Coyotes, but it was called Wile E. Coyotes. And so I've been to that bar, driven past it a bunch of times, and I know this movie doesn't have the biggest budget, so it can't shoot on location and can't remake the building that used to be Coyotes, because the building that was Coyotes when he met his wife there is not Coyotes anymore. It's like some Chinese restaurant or something like that now or whatever it is. It's been a few years since I've driven by it, but it's not Coyotes, the Coyotes that Kurt Warner and Brenda Warner met each other at. And so, I mean, I know they can't go to Cedar Falls and remake the building to make it look like Wile E. Coyotes back in the day, the honky tonk from back in the day, but at least put it in the middle of a city, because that's where it is. The Coyotes honky tonk that he meets Brenda at, it's not out in the middle of the sticks like they portrayed in this movie. It's right on like a major thoroughfare in Cedar Falls, like in the middle of like it's right around a shopping mall and a big strip mall and grocery stores and restaurants and all of it. It's a big hustle and bustle commercial area, all around it, but they portray it, like it's the double deuce from Roadhouse out in the middle of nowhere. but hey, that's neither here nor there. I mean, if you're not from the town, you're not going to know any difference, right? And most people from around the country, they think of Iowa as like, oh yeah, the whole state's got 5 people in it, and they got nothing but 2-lane roads, and they got 1 stoplight in the whole state, and what do they grow there? Potatoes? I can't remember. What do they grow in Iowa? And I think Hollywood suffers from a little bit of that. There's just like, okay, we think of Iowa as like just it's just a farm state, and it's just just no big cities, no interstates. Anyway, so enough about that. That's my tangent. I went down here. That's like pretty much the only gripe I have with this movie. But I had to chuckle to myself when I was watching it. But yeah, the movie it's got a good cast of characters in it. First off, Zachary Levi, he played Shazam in the DC EU movie Shazam. He was on the television. He was on the TV show Chuck on NBC for a long time, and he plays Kurt Warner. And he's like masterful casting for Kurt Warner in that, because I saw an interview with him and Kurt Warner sitting right next to each other, and I'm like, wow. I mean, they're not identical twins, but you look at them like, okay, yeah, that's okay. I can see why they cast Zachary Levi as Kurt Warner. I mean, they look a lot alike. And Zachary Levi does a good job in this movie of letting yourself believe that this is Kurt Warner. He just has that affable, friendly, down to earth, relatable personality in this movie. You feel yourself cheering for him. Anna Paquin, Academy Award winner Anna Paquin, she plays Brenda Warner, and it would be an understatement to say that these two actors, these thespians, they have incredible chemistry in this movie. It's not a cookie cutter, cardboard cutout kind of relationship where it's just this forced thing where you're supposed to just force yourself to believe that they're in love with each other and that they care about each other. They sell it. They sell it, hardcore. And this with their conversations, the way they look at each other, the mannerisms, you can tell, right? When it's real, and their chemistry is very real in this movie. So hats off to them. It really helps you root for not just Kurt, but for Brenda and their family. And also, I really did like the relationship that they portrayed between Kurt and Brenda's son, Zach, who I was going to say he's disabled, but he's not disabled. I'm going to say he's gifted. And he's a sweet kid in this movie, and him and Kurt really form a bond, and it's really touching to see that in this movie. And I think that's one of the coolest parts of the movie. One of the treats in this movie too is the supporting cast as well. It's just like a who's who of character actors. Now, we got Adam Baldwin. Now, if you don't know who Adam Baldwin is, Adam Baldwin, I always remember him most for Full Metal Jacket. He's like the the big sweat hog guy from Full Metal Jacket. He was arming, he was manning the M60, and he was giving Private Joker a hard time when they got over to Vietnam. He's like, you talk the talk, do you walk the walk? That guy. Just watch Full Metal Jacket. Make the sacrifice and watch an awesome movie like Full Metal Jacket again, and you'll see who Adam Baldwin is. But Adam Baldwin is in this movie playing his coach at UNI. And then we've got Bruce McGill. Bruce McGill plays the founder, the creator of Arena Football, who ran the Iowa Barnstormers, the arena football team that Kurt Warner played for. And again, he's played by Bruce McGill. Bruce McGill, again, I'll always remember him as D-Day on Animal House. He was the character in Animal House that was riding the motorcycle everywhere. That's D-Day. And then later on, he went on to an illustrious career he was in a lot of Michael Mann movies. So I mean, he was in Collateral and The Insider and Ali. He had a great role in The Insider. It's just as a lawyer in there, wipe that smirk off your face. That was one of his great lines in that movie. So Bruce McGill, look him up. And then Dennis Quaid. I hesitate to call him a character actor. I know he's kind of more, at least back in the day, he was more of a leading man. Now he's kind of more of a character actor, kind of like Michael Douglas. Like, who would believe guys like Dennis Quaid and Michael Douglas are, I guess, kind of more character actors and supporting actors now, but they are. And so Dennis Quaid, he plays Dick Vermeil, Kurt's coach with the St. Louis Rams. He was a former Philadelphia Eagles head coach there. You probably saw him portrayed by Greg Kinnear in that Mark Wahlberg movie. What was it? You want to say like Unbreakable or something like that, or Invincible? That's what it was. Yeah, the Mark Wahlberg Invincible, where he plays Vince Papale, the guy from the streets of Philadelphia that makes the Philadelphia Eagles team. Well, that was Greg Kinnear playing Dick Vermeil when he was a Philadelphia Eagles head coach, and then this is Dennis Quaid playing the same character, Dick Vermeil, when Dick Vermeil was the St. Louis Rams head coach. And so, it's Dennis Quaid does a good job as Dick Vermeil. He's got that gritty, salt of the earth, just kind of this grizzled veteran coach there, and he's, they portray him as a father figure to Kurt Warner. I mean, he expects results, of course, but he can relate to Kurt Warner because Dick Vermeil was a head coach for the Eagles. He got burnt out. He took off what he thought was going to be a couple years. It turned out to be like 10 years or whatever, and he was like a NFL broadcaster, and then he decided to come back to head coaching in the NFL was the St. Louis Rams, and just happened to win a Super Bowl. Just a small little feat, winning a Super Bowl there at St. Louis. So proved all the haters wrong. So all right, hey, I'm gonna get another riff off this Pantera beer here because it's staring me in the face. I got to do what I got to do, people. Outstanding. Another thing that kind of, one other little negative, one little bugaboo, just for me, and maybe for anybody else that knows Iowa, knows Kurt Warner, and knows where he played at UNI back in Iowa. I wish they would have had a big enough budget where they would have shown the UNI games at the Unidome. So the University of Northern Iowa Panthers, they play in a stadium called the Unidome, and it's a covered stadium. It's got a roof and all that stuff, an inflatable roof. That they play in. Well, in this movie, again, probably due to budget concerns, they have them just play out in some just generic outdoor football stadium. It looks like it's straight out of Friday Night Lights, just some football stadium out in the middle of the boondocks, in the Unidome. The stadium was like right in the middle of Cedar Falls. And Cedar Falls is not a little farm, town or anything like that. One stoplight and a silo, right? It's it's a decent sized college town. But I wish they would have showed them playing in there. But again, a little nitpicky thing from me. It's nothing that ruins the movie by any means. And especially if you have no, if you're not from Iowa, not from Cedar Falls, Iowa, you don't know, right? I mean, it doesn't even faze you. But I do have to warn you, this movie is kind of corny, though. It kind of reminded me of The Blind Side, but it's not even a quarter of the corniness that The Blind Side was. I hate that movie. It is so corny. This movie has a teaspoon of the Blind Side corniness right there, but it's a good movie. It's a distracting movie. If you want to feel uplifted, it's great. I do wish that it would have had a bigger budget because I think that they could have taken it to some places that they weren't able to go with this. The screenplay is good enough. It accomplishes what it needs to accomplish. It's kind of full of the whole sports movie underdog cliches. It suffers from that a little bit, but it's got the kind of screenplay that kind of makes you chuckle and have some pretty good lines and some good supporting characters in the movie. But yeah, it's got a little bit of everything. I mean, this movie's got lows, a lot of lows in there, because we're talking about Kurt Warner's career, and he went through a lot of trials and tribulations. It doesn't really reflect or portray Steve Mariucci very well, or very nicely in this movie here. He's the I think it was the quarterbacks coach, I believe, with the Packers here when Kurt Warner got signed by that team, and of course, that's one of Steve Mariucci's biggest mistakes is cutting Kurt Warner and not giving him a shot right there. Now I don't know how much of a shot he would have had, because Brett Favre was there, at the same time, and Steve Mariucci still to this day, he's like, well, I don't regret cutting Kurt Warner because he wasn't ready back then, and this movie kind of implies that as well, but still, that's Kurt Warner. He could have, got him propped up and used him, for could have got some good trade value out of him or something like that, But hey, you know what? It all worked out, and it's kind of funny to see Kurt Warner, sitting next to Steve Mariucci, at the NFL Network booth now. I keep wondering if maybe Kurt Warner every once in a while kind of gives old Steve Mariucci, gives old Mooch the old side eye sometimes. But it's a good entertaining movie. So go ahead and check it out. And with that here again, hey, I'm going to wrap it up here, and we're going to it's the fourth quarter. It's 5 seconds left, and Kurt Warner and the St. Louis Rams have just won the Super Bowl. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Thanks for listening to Movies Merica Podcast. And again, reach out to me on Twitter and Instagram, and because I'd love to hear from you. And with that, everyone, have a good one. Stay cool.
Hey guys, don't leave the video quite yet. Okay, I've got the popo. They're coming after me, and I don't have much time to tell you, but you need to like and subscribe this video right here, down below. It's right down there. It's just waiting. It's waiting for you down there, okay? And make sure you watch these videos over here too. You'll be doing me a big favor. I'll be in handcuffs pretty soon. All right. Thanks for watching.